Okay, so this time let's look at a case where we need to keep track of something. We want to use a variable. Alright, so I'm still in level 1 here and I just don't have the commands I need to do this. So I'm going to do level and go to level 5 objects, and now you'll see I have a lot of choices over here, but they're closed off. So if I expand program elements and go to basic, you'll see this was the screen you were used to before. Alright, so we're going to start under program elements, basic elements with this. What I'd like to do is make a program that we're just going to turn a light on and off, okay, in 2-second increments, right, and then we're going to send it back to do it all over again. So let's start with that. Now eventually what I want you to do is to make it do it 3 times and then quit. Alright, but what I want you to start with is just take the program in small pieces. So I want a program that turns a light on for 2 seconds, turns a light off for 2 seconds, and then repeats the process again. So I start with the start command. My light is connected as M1. Okay. I'm going to right click and change it to a lamp and turn it to on. Alright, and then I want it to be on for 2 seconds. So I put in a timer, 2 seconds. Okay. Then I want to turn the light off for 2 seconds. It's a lamp, off, okay. And I want 2 seconds to pass again. So 2, okay. And I just want it to do this over and over. So what I'm going to do is take this and loop it back around. Alright, and now I'm going to start my program and it's going to begin to run. It'll just run over and over until I tell it to stop. Alright, so the next thing I want to do is I'm going to add a counter to increment a variable every time it goes through there. Alright, so I'm going to hit stop, and that'll stop my program flow. I'm going to take this and just delete it for right now. Okay, and when I look at variables and timers, here I can see I have variables. Alright, so I'm going to put a variable in. I want to use one of those, and under commands, alright, I see some ways to change some things. So there are a variety of things going on here. Lots of commands available to you, but I want to increment my variable by 1 every time it comes through. Alright, so as I do that, alright, this would be the command that increments a variable 1 time. Alright, so if I right clicked on this, you can see that I can change that plus to be all kinds of things: minus, equal, swap, reset, distance, those kinds of things. +1, I can make it integer, floating, these kinds of things. Alright, and you can see this is tan. Alright, tan things need to be connected to other tan things. Notice that the variable box is tan. Alright, so I'm going to take this command and insert it at the bottom, because as the program flows through here, I'm going to have completed 1 cycle. I'm not going to add any other commands now, but I do want it to go ahead and repeat, and so I'm going to take this and loop it back around. Now notice that in RoboPro, tan lines are the only ones that can be open. Otherwise your programs won't function. They'll give you an error about an open pin. Okay, so I'm going to also name this. When I right click on it, I can name it, and I'm going to call this cycles. Alright, and every time it goes through, it's going to increment that 1 time. So as long as it's running, it's just going to keep track. So let's start that so you can see what it looks like. So now you see the program's running, and it incremented the cycle as it came through. It's going to move through that box, and then cycles too. So the longer I let it run, it's just going to run as many times until I press stop, and this will continue to keep track. Right, so I'm going to stop it now. Okay, and instead of just keeping count of the number of cycles, right, what I'd like to do is make a decision based on that. All right, so anytime I make decisions, okay, in RoboPro, it's called a branch. So remember we talked about branch functions. This is a digital branch. You worked with in lab digital branches and analog branches. All right, but now we want to use a branch that's based on a variable. All right, and so here is a branch based on a variable. Okay, I'm going to take all these things and move them over just a little bit, make a little more room. Okay, probably even a little further. Alright, and now I'm going to connect this branch. So let's say that I want this to run until it's completed 3 cycles. Alright, remember tan things only connect to tan things. Okay, so I'm going to get a tan thing, and what I want to put in there to A is a variable box. Right? And if I want it to make a decision based on this, the number of cycles, I link them by name. So I right click and I name it the exact same thing. If I misspell it, like I just did, or if I capitalize it differently, it will not work the same way. Right? So I'm going to say OK. Alright, and now these two things are linked by their name. They could be well far apart in the programs. They could be completely separate. Alright, so let's say I want this to run 3 times and then I want the program to stop. Okay, so I can do this a couple of ways. There are a lot of ways to end up at the number 3. We're dealing with an integer. It's not like it's going to go through there and it's going to be 1.5 cycles. So I can actually use the equal command. So I'm going to say equals 3. Alright, and right now I'm going to leave all those. Alright, if it's equal to 3, yes, I want the program to stop. Okay, no, I want the program to run again. Now, remember, based on the way I've built this program, each time I'm just adding a small change. So as I'm trying to troubleshoot, this is not a complicated process for me. So let's go through and see how this works. And so now the program's running, and it passes through. It's been 1 cycle. It evaluates this branch. Okay, and it's going to cycle around. It changed to 3 that time, and then it stopped. Okay, what's another way I could have made that decision? A is equal to 3. I could have also used something like, is A greater than 2? Okay, because greater than 2 would be 2.1, but we're not going to have 2.1. The first thing we're going to have past 2 is 3. So watch, you'll see again that you get 3 cycles from that command. So let's run it again so you can see. 1 cycle, 2 cycles, and finally a 3rd cycle, and the program's terminated right there. So you can see A was greater than 2 and you got 3 cycles.